command, which displays a long output, and by long output I mean it displays additional attributes associated with files and directories. So when you say ls-l, more or less the output would be of this form: a multi-column long-running output where on every line there is one file or a directory about which information gets printed. And I said it's not sufficient to understand only this much. You need to go beyond. And we were talking about the first column, which is either 10 characters or 11 characters in length. That's the one which we were talking. Now, from this first column, the first character itself indicates the type of the file. Example, in Unix, these many different types of file abbreviations are used to indicate different types of files. D for a directory, hyphen for a regular file, P for a pipe, S for a socket, L for a symbolic link, C for a character special device file, and a B for a block special device files, out of which two of them are fairly common: D for directory and hyphen for a regular file. Now, if I just ask somebody to take a look at this, imagine that in a black and white command window, you were just looking at the ls output. The ls output would have shown file names as dir1, dir2, file1.txt, test.txt. Imagine that you are in a perfect black and white window. Now, just looking at the names, nobody can tell which one is a file, which one is a directory. You might want to take a guess, but I have deliberately jumbled up their names to sound like a directory. So somebody may say, this is a directory. I said, how? Because it contains dir. Well, this time you took a guess, and that guess is correct. It's a directory. Then I gave you dir2. I said, guess whether it's a file or a directory. Without L output, you might say it's also a directory. Only when you say ls-l, you came to know that it's not a directory, although I named it as dir2. It's a file. I said, take a guess what you feel this like. Somebody said, it looks like it's a file, not a directory. This time your guess was correct. I said, now on the similar lines, tell me what is this? Test.txt. On the similar lines, somebody would say, this is also a file. I said, no, only when you look at ls-l output, you can for sure tell that in this case, it's not a file, it's a directory. That's the importance of ls-l command. Otherwise, merely looking at the name of the files, you can't tell what sort of a file is that. That's where the first column, first character in the first column, tells you the type of file that you are looking at. Next thing is the first column, but the next three characters, which means I am now talking about these three characters. These three characters, which will take a form of RWX, something of that sort. Let's understand what that next three characters indicate. The next three characters of the first column shows the permissions for the owner of the file. So what permissions the owner of this particular file has on this particular given file. The permissions are mentioned in a form: read as R, write as W, and execute as X in the same order, and a missing permission is denoted as a hyphen. So somebody says, what do you mean by this? I said, this means the owner of this dir1 has read, write, and execute permissions on this directory. When I look at a file named dir2, the owner has read, the owner has write, but the owner does not have an execute permission on this regular file. Same thing extended for others. So order would always be RWX, and if any of the permission is missing, then you won't find R if you don't have read. Instead, you will see a hyphen. You won't find a W if there is no write permission. Instead, you will find a hyphen. You won't find an X for execute. If you don't have that permission, you will instead find a hyphen. So these are permissions for the owner. Can the owner read from the file? Can the owner change the text in the file? Or for that matter, can the owner execute that file? And the order would always be RWX. So if you see RWX, that means the owner has read, write, execute. If you see RW hyphen, it means the owner has read, write, but no execute. If you see R hyphen hyphen, it means the owner has read but does not have write and execute permission. If you only see hyphen hyphen hyphen, that means the owner does not have neither read nor write or execute for that matter. So a missing permission is shown as a hyphen. Let's take a couple of combinations. Let's look at the file del1. Currently the file looks like this. What do we know from the output? I said I know that the name of the file is del1. It's a regular file. Now looking at the permissions, I can tell you that the owner has read, the owner has write, but the owner does not have an execute permission. The question then becomes is, who is the owner? Well, this column shows you the owner. Means Oracle user, which I am currently. I am currently Oracle user. So Oracle user, who happens to be the owner of del1 file, can read the contents of the file, can modify the contents of the file, but cannot execute the file. Now, what is the meaning of read, write, and execute? We'll go in details somewhere when we talk about changing the permissions. As of now, our job is not to change the permissions. As of now, we are here only to understand what does it shows in the first column, character position 2, 3, and 4. So this is second character, third character, and the fourth character. What does it shows? Well, it shows only permissions for the owner in the order RWX.